So I'm gonna be going over with you guys today is how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement for wholesaling real estate. Okay. And this is the most valuable thing that you will learn in the business. Without knowing how to do this, I mean, you could make so many mistakes, bro. And the reality is what we want to do is we want to mitigate as many of the mistakes that can be made as humanly possible. Okay. And so I've realized this at the beginning is that there's so many different forms of contracts, specifically here in the state of Texas. Since you're in El Paso, you guys being my students, I'm here in San Antonio, so we all use the same contracts typically. Now, the contract that is very well known throughout the state of Texas is called the Standard TREC Agreement. TREC stands for, it's an acronym, it stands for Texas Real Estate Commissions. And essentially, what this specific contract is just it's been approved by the Texas Board of Real Estate Commissions, and essentially these individuals have found that this is the most legitimate contract that you can use here within the state of Texas. Now, it's not a requirement to use the TREC form, but sometimes you'll deal with a seller that is savvy in real estate and they'll want you to use the TREC form, or you'll be dealing with a realtor. If the realtor is representing the seller, 9 times out of 10, to protect their client, they're gonna ask that you submit like a TREC contract. Now, you don't have to be a realtor to fill out a TREC agreement, okay? But with that being said, I'm going to go over the TREC agreement with you guys today, and I'm also going to go over two other variations of purchase agreements as well. Now, and I'm also going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to make your own purchase and sale agreement, which is what I prefer, right? Now, I know again, like right now, we're at a point where AI is basically taking over our entire industry, just being 100%. And so, as I've grown into the industry, I've realized that a lot of people are utilizing AI in so many different ways. You can use AI to create a lease option agreement. You can use AI to create a owner finance agreement. You can use AI to create assignment of contract agreement. You can use AI to create a wraparound mortgage agreement. So there's a lot of different things that you can use AI to do now. And it's pretty damn legit, bro. I've been using AI to draft contracts. Got to draft one after I'm done with this call with you guys. Just inputting a couple of prompts into AI. So first and foremost, let's kind of go over this. I'm going to share my screen. This is the 1 to 4 family residential contract for a resale or purchase of a piece of real estate. And this has been promulgated by the Texas Real Estate Commissions, or TREC for short. It's very simple, Artie. You see these numbers here? One, two, pay attention to the numbers. Okay. 4, 5. That's what you need to make sure that you're looking at when you start. Look at the numbers and look at what the letters are next to the numbers. So number one, we have parties. So the parties of this contract are your seller's information, and then here, your buyer's information. So this would be you. You would be putting your company name here. Now, what gives us the legal authority to sell this contract to someone else is putting and or assigns on the agreement. Okay. So again, number one, this first thing, what is this? This is for the first line is what? The contract is
My LLC.
for this one. This first line is for who?
Sell it.
I'm highlighting it. You see it?
I put their name on it.
Exactly. You put their name, the seller, their information goes here on the first line. Buyer, second line. Okay. Now, again, in the second line, where it says buyer is where you're going to put your LLC. Now, what gives us the legal authority to sell this property is we put and or.
Right after it, right?
Correct. Your LLC and then and or signs. Exactly what we're looking for. Now, at that point, every property that you look for has a legal description. So again, number two goes over property. This is the land improvements and accessories are collectively referred to as the property. And then here you'll see lot, block, and then NC. It's typically called like an NCB. In addition, city of El Paso, county of, what is the name of El Paso County?
Paso County.
There you go. So, if we were to look this up, right, and like right now, if I wanted to get that information, I would go to like Bear County Appraisal District. And so if I wanted to get like the legal description of a property, you could just come in here and then search literally any address. I mean, we'll just do like a random property that I flipped a while ago. We'll do 5103 Cinderella. This is a house I bought for 130, bro, and I just saw the appraisal on it. But if you go here to where it says legal description, you see this here?
Yeah. That's
That's your NCB. It stands for New City Block or CB City Block. And then this is basically the identification code, the block number, and the lot number. You would take that information and plug it straight into your Trek contract here. So lot number here, block number here, NCB here, City of El Paso, County of El Paso, Texas, known as, and then the address of the property. So we would put the address of the property here. Okay. Now, what's cool about this, bro, is if you wanted to, you can fill this contract out online. So let's just go ahead and do that, right? We can go to Trek contract agreement, and it should be the first thing that pops up here. And contracts 1 to 4, download the form, just click on it, right? So we have seller name here. See that? And then we have your LLC, and we're going to do end or assigns. That gives us the authority to sell it. And then based on what we just went over there, it was block 22, lot 17. And then it said like NCB or CB, whatever the number looks like. And then this would be City of El Paso, County of El Paso. And then here we would put again the address. So this would be 123 Main Street, El Paso, Texas, and then whatever the area code would be, 78 or 7904, whatever. So again,
yeah.
yeah, so that's essentially now the first part. Now, you never leave any blanks. So this thing talking about exclusions here, exclusions, the following improvements and accessories will be retained by seller and must be removed prior to delivery of possession. They would put cars, maybe like a deck that they built in the back, like whatever that they're trying to take. So this would be excluded from the sale. Your seller would put this here, but typically I would always just put NA for non-applicable. So
Okay.
if I wanted to, I just put NA there. So non-applicable, meaning that the seller doesn't care about anything. We're buying the house as is. Now at this point, we're going to number 3, which is your sales price, right? So a cash portion of the sales price payable by buyer at closing. Let's say on this property we're offering, I don't know, let's say $100,000. Make sure you put the little one thing there, right? You're gonna want that little the dot. The dot's important. So like now we know that it's $100,000. If we were using some type of financing, we'd have to fill out a second form called a seller financing addendum. Now, that's us if we needed to check it, and we don't have to check that. Right now, this is pretty much all we're doing. So this is sum total price of A and B since we're not using any financing. Just put NA, non-applicable. And there our purchase price of this property is $100,000. Now, if we were using financing and financing came in at 20, then our purchase price plus financing in total would be 20,000 plus the $80,000 in cash would equal to 100,000 bucks. Now, that's just if we're using some type of financing. Now, going back into this, this is where it's going to go over your leases. If there are any existing leases, if seller is not aware of any leases affecting the property after the effective date, seller may not, without buyer's written consent, create a new lease. So it's basically telling them that they can't just go in here and just release the property after trying to sell it, right? They're not going to have any interest. So if there is a residential lease, they would check this here. If there was a fixture lease, they check that here. If there are natural resources lease, they check that there as well. All right. Now, if seller has delivered a copy of everything, you would check that. Seller has not delivered buyer copy of that, then you would check that. Now, again, this is basically for different types of leases. If there's like a land lease or something like that. Now, from here, you would initial, right? So the Arturo Cortez, and then over here, your seller would initial, let's say SD for short. And then you want to put your property address at the top of every single contract because that's just the way they are. So going up to the top, you put the address here. Okay. So now it goes into earnest money. Now, in the state of Texas, and a lot of states actually, for a contract to be considered valid, you would essentially have to put $10 minimum in earnest money. So this is going to go over earnest money and termination option. Delivery of earnest money and option fee within 3 days after the effective date. Buyer must deliver to, name of your title company. So we'll call this, I don't know,
Texas title.
Texas Title. It doesn't matter. We could do any title company. So Texas Title, escrow agent, whoever her name is, we'll say Diane Wilson.
Okay.
and then her address for Texas title, which we'll just say 123 Main Street, right? So kind of like just going through this, that's very simple. And then here it goes over the amount of earnest money. We'll say $10. And if there's an option fee, let's say we want to be able to opt out of the contract, we'll offer $50,000, and that's going to be for 5 days. So again, buyer shall deliver additional earnest money. That's BS. We don't need to do that unless it's requested. So we'll do NA. And since there's no days toward that, we'll do NA as well. Termination option. This is going to be your option period that's going to allow for you to opt out of the agreement. Typically, what I do is I give myself 7 days, 7 days to opt out, 7 days to move forward. This gives us our right to exercise the termination. And so this goes over some of the things about termination. Failure to timely deliver earnest money makes this contract null and void. Failure to deliver option fee, then this contract is null and void. Basically, time is of the essence. So if this paragraph is strict compliance at the time of the performance is required, you got 3 days from the moment this agreement is signed to deliver the earnest money and the termination to the title company. Now you don't have to, but I like to give them some, $50 up front, goes straight to your seller, and you get 7 days to try to move the contract. $10 earnest money, typically what they want is 10%. So if you're buying at $100,000, then the idea here, if you're buying at $100,000, that you're gonna have to put up a specific percentage in earnest money. It's about 1%. So they're gonna ask you for like probably $1,000 of that amount of money. Now you don't have to do that, but the minimal amount is 10, just so you guys understand how that works. Now, going into this part, right, your title policy is always going to be paid for by the buyer unless the seller is willing to go half skis. Okay. So in this instance, the title policy is going to be issued by Texas Title, right? And it's going to be at the buyer expense. So we're going to make the buyer pay for all of this so that doesn't come out of your assignment fee. From this point, there are certain things that you can leave out of the title company. Now, I don't check any of this stuff. I don't need to amend or delete any type of policy. There's nothing like that. I'm just looking for a title commitment. This is now their commitment. Within 20 days that the title company receives a copy of this contract, seller shall furnish to buyer a commitment for title insurance or vice versa at buyer's expense. So again, this is now you exercising your right to receive a copy of the title insurance, which should tell you everything that is required to close on this house. Now, again, we would boom signature there and then SD there for the seller. Add
Hey, real quick, I got a question on that real fast. Oh, okay. You said, like when you tell the seller, you know what, I'm gonna pay for all closing costs, and how do I explain this one? The buyer is gonna pay for this.
the buyer's already aware. If it's a cash deal, that it's standard that the buyer pays all the closing costs. There's no need to explain anything. They're already aware that they're going to be covering all closing costs.
A lot of times they have us say, well, I've heard people say, oh, don't worry, we'll pay the closing cost.
Yes. So the buyer pays the closing costs, not the seller, unless
Oh, okay, okay,
otherwise
okay, okay.
stated.
I get it. I get
If
it.
the seller pays for the closing costs and they're covering all the title fees,
I got it.
the only thing I ever make the seller pay for is like title issues. So like affidavit of heirship comes out of the title, comes out of the seller's proceeds, things like that. You can add to your terms and conditions toward the end. So
Got it.
from this point, if there is a survey, this part goes over survey, which is letter C, survey. Basically, if the seller or the buyer is requesting a survey, this is going to go over that. Any type of objections, or defects on the property, exemptions or encumbrances to title, disclose to the survey, you would add details here. You can do that later. Title notices. So these are some of the things that the title company will do for you. Abstract to title policy, membership in property owners association is not subject to membership. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's just put no. You can leave all that blank. And scrolling down, none of that matters either. This is all just basic legal stuff. AC, SD, and then scrolling down, you put the address here again. Now, this is going over a whole bunch of stuff, bro. This isn't necessarily required. It's very self-explanatory, so just take some time to go over that. A lot of this is just standard stuff that they add into it, verbiage, just for protection for both seller and buyer. Now, this part's important, property condition. The one that we're checking is that the house is being purchased as is. So if this is the one, boom, make sure you add the address here. Scrolling down now, let's say buyer accepts the property as is. provided seller at seller's expense shall complete XYZ. If you agreed that you would buy it as is, but the seller is going to want to mow the lawn or fix the roof, or maybe, I don't know, fix a foundation issue, things like that would be added here. Okay. So that basically means that you're buying it as is, but you're letting your seller make certain improvements to the house. So then it goes over lender requirements for repairs, completion of repairs and treatments, environmental matters, residential service contracts. You can copy and paste this into ChatGPT and have it break it down for you. Now, this part right here is for your broker, right? A broker sales agent disclosure. So if you are a licensed realtor, you would put your license number here and disclose who you're, or if you're either a broker or if you're a realtor, you would put your MLS ID here. This goes over closing. Now, what day are we going to be closing? Typically, I set my properties up to close in 21 days, 30 days max. So for something like this, I would just say July 17th, and then we'll do the year 2025. And then scrolling down, we'll do it this way. Again, AC, and then
Hey,
F.
Q.
Yeah.
On closing, I have a question. How do you know when you're gonna close? Because don't you have to wait for title to clear?
Yeah, typically title company is going to clear the property within a week or so. Have
Okay.
you gone through that process?
Yeah, I've gone through that process a lot of times.
Yeah,
Because
so it
I'm waiting
depends
for
on
title to clear.
the title and how bad it is. So that could postpone things. So I always give it a month. You would ask these questions before you would even sign a contract, bro.
Uh-huh.
So like I would be asking my seller, I say, hey, just so basic understanding of the situation. You inherited this property, okay? How many heirs are there? Things like that. If I know it's going to take time, then I'll kick the closing out an additional 30 days. And if we can close sooner, then that's even more better, right? But this will give us enough time to actually work the file and get it to a point where it can close. And that's just part of the game. So kind of give yourself some leeway, but also you can vet a lot of those questions up front. That'll give you like a better position when you're negotiating anyway, depending on how much time it's going to take to close it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've waited a long time sometimes. It took so long. But they don't tell you all the things that are really going on with the property as far as like
For
title
sure.
issues.
And sometimes they don't know, and that's okay. It's our job
Yeah.
to figure that part out. So if you need to
Yeah.
give yourself more time, you can. Now,
Yeah.
this goes over possession of the property. Seller shall deliver buyer possession of the property in its present or required condition upon closing and funding. Now, scroll down to special provisions. You can add whatever you would like special here. You could say seller is to remove items from home prior to closing, and that would have to be honored. So like special provisions is really anything specific that you would want to add. Now, going into settlement and other expenses, this could go into brokerage fees, sales price, percentages that apply to specific things, appraisal fees, loan application fees, depending on what needed to pay for what. This is where you would outline what those expenses are. Proration goes over taxes. So if I bought the house in July, the seller would be obligated to pay taxes on that property from January to July, and that would be taken out of their proceeds. Those are called prorations. So prorated taxes is essentially that. You add the property address here, sign an initial here, casualty lost, buyer's not liable to purchase this property. If for whatever damn reason this thing blows up or goes up in flames, you don't have to buy it in that case. If you or seller fail to comply, both are entitled to legal mediation or remedy of the property. Then it goes over mediation, basically states that the title company has nothing to do with this. You guys are the ones in a transaction. Title company is just trying to service the property. Attorney fees, both buyer and or seller, broker, whoever is involved. Um, Whoever prevails in any legal proceedings related to this contract is entitled to recover any reasonable attorney fees and all costs of such proceeding. Then this goes over escrows. This is essentially to protect your escrow officer. The escrow agent is not a party to this contract, does not have any liability for the performance or non-performance of any part of this contract. This is to protect them. Representations. All of us are entitled to our own federal requirements. If seller is a foreign person, we need to make sure they have all their info. And then this goes into notices. All notices from one party to the other must be in writing. So again, if anything changes, it needs to be in writing, either text format or email. Email always works best. You would put your information here for buyer, so it'd be like, I don't know, Arturo. right? Cortez, and then your phone number, whatever you would want to put there, and then your email, and then your fax number if you have one, and then a copy if you have a buyer's agent, their information would be there as well. And then your seller's info too would be here. You just add all that here. Now, scrolling down, if there's a specific agreement, let's say the seller needed like a lease back, you would click here. Seller's temporary residential lease. Let's say you needed to perform a short sale, you would click this as well. That would help you with the starting the short sale process. Seller's disclosure, information on lead-based paint or lead-based paint hazards as required by federal law. You check that there. If any of these specific things that you need are here, whether you're getting a seller financing addendum or a third-party financing addendum, if there's agreements that are not a part of this contract but attached to it, they now become a part of the agreement. As you check these boxes, you turn in the contract with the additional agreements. Now, they always put this here. Consult an attorney before signing if you'd like. Attorney's phone number for the buyer, attorney's phone number for the seller. Then, boom, address again, and then executed on this date, this month, this year, and then buyer signs, seller signs, and the contract is done. At that point, you add the address here one more time, and then your broker, if you're a broker, you fill this info out, and then scrolling down, you'll fill out the option. The title company will fill this out as a receipt. So they give you an option fee receipt, earnest money receipt, and then a contract receipt. If there is additional earnest money, that would be there. So this is a Trek contract, bro. Like legit. Like this is very scary sometimes for a seller to sign. I know it's a lot to go over in one video. It can be very boring if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
but it's a needed contract to know. This one right here sets the premise for every agreement that you sign that you can find on the internet. So kind of going into this, right? I have this agreement that I built out a while ago, and it's just a contract for purchase of a resident of piece of real estate. This one is a simple 2 page, 3 page agreement. It's very easy. And a lot of times, this would be the one, Arturo, that I would recommend that you use. And so, this is a contract for purchase of residence or other real estate. Contract is made. You'd put the date here, month here, year here, seller's info here, buyer's info here, and then your mailing address here. And then again, the parties agree to the following: purchase and sale. The seller agrees to sell, and the buyer agrees to buy the property located at 123 Main Street. Purchase price of this property would be here. Terms, if there are any specific special provisions, would be added here. Notice how we have the same verbiage: defects, prorations, no judgments, possession of the property, inspections, contingencies, risks of loss, acceptance, and then this is the earnest money for the property, and then a closing date, and then other agreements. Buyer agrees to purchase property and as is condition, contract subject to an acceptable appraisal, buyer to pay all closing costs. Buyer may assign or otherwise transfer any of buyer's rights, title, or interest in this purchase agreement to a third party without the seller's consent. Buyer may place signs that show property immediately upon acceptance of this contract by both parties. In the event of a default, the sole remedy shall be the earnest money deposit, and then time is of the essence. So again, this is a very, I mean, this is like super straightforward, right? A lot of people will use this one because it's just easy and it has less liability, less extremeness. Your seller might see this and be a little bit more comfortable. I think one of the things that I would always try to reword is when you're talking about contracts, never say contract because contracts scare people, right? If I wanted
Yeah.
to like tell you, hey, you want me to go over there and like I don't know, work on your yard or something for like the next 3 years. Okay, let's sign a contract. It's different when you just say agreement. Okay,
Yeah.
and so try to reword that. Now, this is a really good contract to use, bro, and it's very straightforward. You just have to read it, man, like super simple. Now, this is again a 3 pager. I'll send you a copy of this, but I like to take things a step further,
So
So
this is a third one?
this is a second contract.
Okay, second one, because you said 2 pages the first time.
Yeah, this is 3 page contract.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought it was 2 pages. When you print it out, it'll probably be two, if I'm being honest.
okay.
But I mean, look at it. It's just super short compared to what we were looking at over here on the Trek agreement. The Trek agreement was like 10 pages,
Well,
10 pages
yeah,
long.
okay.
So this might be a little bit less intimidating to your seller when you start using this agreement, in my opinion. Now, when I started really going out on my own and wanting to brand my company and brand myself and get my marketing out there, I didn't want to use a contract like everybody else. I wanted to take the contract that I loved, which is I use this one. I took also some verbiage from the Trek form and made it my own. But I wanted to rebuild the agreement so that it looked more like me, like my company. And
Yeah.
took the concepts from the Trek form and I took the concepts from this contract that I'm showing you now, and I created this one that I'm going to show you today. This is my company's purchase and sale agreement, which is more branded to me. Our company colors are black and gold. So again, this contract is to buy and sell real properties between seller and buyer as identified below as the effective on the date of. So this is where you put the seller's info, their social, date of birth, address, phone number, fax, and then buyer's info, address, phone number, email, and then property. So the address would be put here. For and in consideration of the sum purchase price set forth in the paragraph below, payable is hereby set forth. The seller hereby contracts covenants and agrees to sell to the buyer XYZ, commonly known as, and you would put the property address here, and then the legal description, lot, block, NCV, and then the name of the subdivision, together with improvements to the land. Then your purchase agreement, whatever that would be, and then the title company's info here, the address, and then the escrow officer. Now
Like that.
I have things like this at the bottom for my company. So this is my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and then my company website. And then there is my company logo. So all of these are just, they make the contract look more branded. And that's what I always appreciated about it. So in my agreement, I do standard earnest money of $100 every time, just cause, that's just how I am. And this is how they receive it. Title company here, title and survey. It's going to be buyer's expense, buyer expense, buyer expense. You'll just check where the buyer's at. And then this is just specific closing stuff that I have that's added here. You can read through this if you'd like. Closing date, same thing, but the contract's typically expired on that day at 5 p.m. I can also extend it if I needed to in the event that there is any type of title issues. So, I can put the closing date on or before month, day, year. At closing, taxes for the current year, interest and maintenance fees. This is the proration part. For the consideration of the sum of $50, buyer shall have the unrestricted right to extend the closing date an additional 30 days. So I can just go to the title company and add $50 to earnest money and turn that into title, and I can get myself another 30 days. Conditional
Sweet.
property. Say again?
That was sweet.
Yeah, that way it's just easier, and I just throw it in there just in case I need more time. Conditional
Yeah.
property until closing. I just make sure that it's broom swept condition. All right. So as long as it with reasonable wear and tear, they're going to deliver the property to me in broom swept condition. I want it to be clean. I want belongings to be removed. I don't want to fight anybody for anything that was left inside of the house. Then I go over default and remedies. It's the same thing, bro. Same thing. Just basic stuff here. Okay. So with that being said, scrolling down, attorney fees, time is of the essence, same verbiage, right? All the stuff that we saw from Trek. Miscellaneous provisions, this is all just random stuff that you add, entire agreement. If there needs to be an amendment, would be signed by both parties. Assignment, buyer may assign this contract. That's me just adding that in there. So you don't even have to add and or assigns next to your name because the
Yeah.
contract states it's already assignable. Waiver of default, severability. All of this is just basic legal verbiage to kind of assist with the deal. But what I like about this contract is there's that $50 pop to give me an additional 30 days.
Yeah, I love that.
Anything special that I need to add, I'd add it here. Okay. And then the date. So my seller's info, buyer's info, and then that's it, man. So this is, again, another standard agreement. And this is only one, two, three, four, five pages long. So you got a 13 pager, 3 pager, and a 5 pager. So these are all really great purchase agreements. So you know what we're gonna do? This is gonna be super fun, man. Let's zoom out real quick. We're gonna download this one, and then we're gonna download this one, and then we're gonna take the standard Trek agreement, right? Like we just pulled up a second ago, Trek contract agreement. And we're gonna download that one too. Let me show you this. This is so cool, bro. And I'm about to really just blow your freaking mind here. I'm gonna download this one. So now we have three, right? I just loaded up three, and now we're gonna go straight into ChatGPT. And then let me take out all of this stuff. I was mentoring somebody yesterday. I was taking notes in ChatGPT. Okay. And then we're going to drag and drop all three of these in here. Now, using these three agreements as the foundation, make me a purchase and sale agreement for my wholesaling real estate business. Include all necessary legal verbiage. Make it no longer than 4 pages. Here is a custom 4 page purchase sale agreement specifically tailored to your wholesaling real estate business based on the Trek contract, your Infinity Cash offer agreement, and industry standard assignment friendly language. This version is simplified but legally sound, written in plain language, and includes all key components like assignability, earnest money, title review, default clauses, and as is condition. So purchase and sale agreement, my company information here, seller's info there, property, closing, condition of property, title and survey, assignment, default. Look at it. It's just, come on, man. Doesn't get any better than this. There we go. Let me know if you'd like this formatted into a clean, fillable PDF, added to your Just Jarvis system, or with your branding, logo, font, etc. Sure. So at this point now, it's going to make it into a PDF. So I don't even have to copy and paste that and put it into Google or anything because it's just going to spit it out for me. So again, at this point now, what it's doing is it's taking all of the information and creating an image for me so that I can have a contract to use. And I just straight up download it from here, load it up into whatever I want to load it up into, and we're Gucci. But yeah, let's let it cook. But look at that. I mean, it's all the proper verbiage that we look for in an agreement. It's everything that we need.
Can I put my LLC on it?
Yeah, you can. You can just type in what you want. What's your LLC info?
Star City Solutions LLC.
What's the address to the business?
Um, is my house, you mean?
Oh, we don't have to go that far. What's the address to the title company?
Texas Title. Let me see. What's the address to Texas Title on Mesa? It is.
This is super cool.
It's 1360 Lichavino. Oh, this is not. So, get the one I said I was at.
I'm pretty sure I can just find it. Texas title, El Paso. We can use any. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
we could just take all this info and add it there. So we'll copy and paste this. Or yeah, wait.
It is my mom right here.
Hi.
She watches a lot of your videos because like when I'm on the thing,
How are you
she's
doing?
listening a lot.
Okay, so then address is boom. And then we can add your phone number if we'd like. Make into a PDF. So now I'm just going to recreate that. We'll have that going too. So we have this in image format. Sometimes it bugs out, but when that happens, you just copy and paste everything that it already did and then just start a new chat. So like from here, I'll just copy and paste, and then I'll copy and paste all this as well and copy. There we go. There it is actually. Boom. Okay. Download. There we go. We just made a contract, bro.
Dang. All right.
Isn't that something?
Oh.
So that's the power of AI and just taking basic purchase agreements and making something out of them. You know what I mean? It gets easier, bro. But with that being said, like that is a contract. That's how you fill it out. That's how you go through it. There's a lot of other moving parts to an agreement, but at least you have something that you can kind of base where you want to start off on. It practice makes perfect, bro. Don't be afraid to mess up. Be afraid to start. You're not. I mean, obviously, you've already closed a bunch of real estate deals. The problem with your business is that you've kind of let the buyer handle that part for you and dictate the amount of money that you would be compensated. That's
Yeah.
not okay. They're your deals that you're finding. You need to have full control of them. The way that we have control as wholesalers is through the purchase agreement. Otherwise, you're just kind of giving away money. You know what I'm saying? Some of those deals that you've
Exactly.
probably wholesaled and closed in the past could have made you like 50 to $20,000 each, maybe more, right? But you're
Yeah.
just like limiting yourself by not studying this. I mean, bro, there's a million YouTube videos on Facebook, on YouTube that'll teach you how to fill out a purchase agreement. It's one of the first things that you should have knocked out. But I'm holding your hand today to show you what this looks like to get you going. Okay. So I'm gonna send you a copy of all three agreements so that you have them to your email. What I'd like to do for you guys to give y'all homework and we can meet again early next week, I'd say Monday. I'm gonna give y'all a bunch of leads and a whole bunch of stuff too, just for signing up for the coaching. But what I'd like for y'all to do, I'm gonna give you guys my address, okay? And I'd like for y'all to make an offer on my property. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want you to send me a written offer through a contract. And then on our next call, we're going to go over it together to make sure that this is done right. And once you figure this part out, bro, you're never going to give away your houses anymore. You're going to be able to make bigger profit margins on them because you get this part. And I'd rather you mess up with me than mess up with the seller. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, I'm going to send you guys a copy of that here in just a second. Let me go ahead and pause the recording for this in case we start talking about something else. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that broke it down for you, man. I'm pretty good at teaching the contract.
Yeah.
For sure, man.
So,
Give me just a moment, and I'll send you a copy of the recording too, brother.